all sa ating 25th Kapihang OH. Ladies and gentlemen, our PCOM Quezon City Chapter President, Dr. Catherine Artais Carriaga.
Thank you, Margo. Dr. Margo. Magandang gabi po sa inyo lahat na aming tagapanood at tagapagsubaybay mula sa iba't ibang sulok ng Pilipinas at sa labas ng bansa. Sa aming kapamilya sa Philippine College of Occupational Medicine, mga kapuso sa Occupational Safety and Health, at kapatid sa propesyon ng kalusugan, isang mainit na pagtanggap mula po sa amin dito sa PCOM Quezon City Chapter. Isang makulay na taon na ang lumipas, isang kabanata sa buong sandaigdigan na tumimo sa puso't isipan ng sangkatauhan. Ito ang pandemyang dulot ng COVID-19. Lahat ay nagtutulungan upang masugpo at matugunan ang suliraning dulot nito. At sa pagtatapos ng taon 2020, lumabas na ang iba't ibang bakuna na resulta ng pag-aaral ng maraming dalubhasa at sayantipiko sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo. Sa pagpasok ng taon 2021, ang pangakong dala ng bakuna ay nandito na sa bansa. Maraming agam-agam ang nananahan sa puso't isipan ng karamihan ng ating kababayang Pilipino. Kung ito na mga ba ang tuluyang magwawakas sa pandaigdigang problema na ito. Maraming katanungan na nakabinbin sa puso ng lahat pagdating sa usaping ito. Kaya po ngayong gabi, kami ay lubos na nalulugod dahil kasama po natin ang isa na namang eksperto sa larangan na ito sa ating ika-26 na kapihan para talakayin at magbigay linaw sa nagbabagang issue na ito sa ating ikalawang yugto sa Usaping Bakuna Contra COVID-19 Part 2. Maraming salamat po at magandang gabi po muli sa inyong lahat.
Ladies and gentlemen, my dearest colleagues, and to all our beloved guests from all sectors of workforce, we're very honored at napaunlakan tayo ng ating panauhing pangdangan ngayong gabi. He has taken many different roles in the government service for more than 22 years. He is a doctor of medicine, a tenured professor at the University of the Philippines, Manila, and an executive official in the Department of Health. He graduated from the 7-year medicine course of UP Manila, took his residency training in ophthalmology in PGH and his fellowship training in ophthalmic pathology and oncology in Instituto de Oftalmobiología Aplicada of the University of Valladolid in Spain. He has a diploma superior in international public health from the Escuela Nacional de Sanidad in Madrid, and has completed his courses towards an MSc in clinical epidemiology at the UP College of Medicine. He became an assistant secretary of the DOH in 2001 to 2004, supervising non-communicable disease programs and the health regulation cluster. He is a published researcher and an awarded teacher. In 2010, during his term as director, the PGH became a center of excellence. He furthers his work into the community where he was country coordinator for the Philippines under the WHO Prevention of Blindness in Children Project. He was also city councilor of Pampanga where he served to promote health education and smoking ban, among others. A proud Kapampangan who was the 2019 Most Outstanding Awardee in Government Service, a believer of progressive public health, a man who works with integrity, passion, and professionalism, and currently the Director General of FDA. Let us all welcome Dr. Rolando Enrique Domingo.
Hi, maraming salamat, Doktora. Good evening, everybody. I'm very happy to be here with you tonight kasi as the COVID-19 war progresses, I think one of the main goals of the government now is to open the economy meaning to bring back the workers back to the workplace. And of course, you practitioners of occupational health and medicine will be a major force when this starts happening. And you will be part of
Definitely.
the immunization program of our COVID immunization program. So I'm happy to have this opportunity to explain to you what the vaccines are, how we select them, and how the FDA approves them, so that when it's your turn to explain it to your patients, you know what exactly we are doing and what vaccines we are using right now. So I will just share my screen.
Yes, please.
Okay. And I will give you a rundown of what happens during a vaccine approval process. Now, usually this is the normal vaccine development process, from the left side of discovery to the phase 1, 2, and 3 trials, and then finally approval or registration. That usually takes about 7 years. Tinatapos muna yung phase 1, phase 2, tsaka phase 3. Pag complete na lahat ng phase 3 trials, then nandito na sa yellow, the company can then apply for FDA product registration. And once it is approved, it means it can be marketed already and it can be available to everybody. However, like I said, this takes about 7 years. And if we wait for a completely approved and a completely developed product, that will probably at the earliest come in siguro 2022, 2023. And that will be too long, no? It will be too late. Baka wala na rin tayong ekonomiya kung ganun ang mangyayari, kung ganun katagal ang hihintayin. So what countries are doing now is that nandito pa lamang sa pink, sa kalagitnaan pa lamang ng phase 3 clinical trial, where they are doing it in about 20, 30, 40,000 patients and using the vaccine and testing it. Pag nakita na meron na tayong enough evidence to show na safe siya at saka meron siyang magandang efficacy, then countries are beginning to use what we call vaccines under emergency use authorization. So yung mga vaccines ngayon na narabalitaan yung ginagamit natin, nandito yan sa kalagitnaan ng phase 3 trial. Hindi pa sila fully developed. The development and the monitoring and the clinical trials are still going on, but we are already using them because we need them during this emergency situation. Now, dati, ito yung pag-approve ng isang bakuna sa FDA, itong sa left side. If you have a vaccine that has been developed for 5-6 years and then it applies with FDA, ganyan kadami ang requirements at saka ganyan kadami yung proseso niya, and it takes about 6 months to 1 year for the FDA to approve a vaccine for public use, for general use, and to give it what we call a marketing authorization or a CPR, a Certificate of Product Registration. Kaya lang, ngayon na meron tayong pandemic at merong emergency lahat, under emergency use authorization, we have minimized the requirements. We only have about 13 requirements, especially kung meron ng EUA, yung vaccine, from example, US FDA, Japan, Korea, mga countries with very stringent regulatory authorities. We have minimal requirements and we are able to do this in 21 days. No? Kung meron na siyang EUA from WHO, US, UK, EU, ganyan, Korea or Japan. Kung wala naman, kung ang EUA niya is coming from the home country like China or India or Russia, tinatanggap din natin yan. However, it takes a little more time kasi yung pre-assessment natin tsaka yung assessment natin mas mahaba. Kasi wala tayong mga ibang reports na makukuha na evaluation, unlike kung nanggaling na sa ibang bansa. And we have to do all the evaluation ourselves. Now, during regular times, ang FDA talaga, we only allow the marketing of products, meaning drugs and vaccines, after once the application has complete full reports of investigations, meaning talagang complete ang phase 3 trials, tapos magre-register na siya. Yun ang nakalagay din sa batas ng FDA. Yung batas ng FDA, parang ang assumption niya is that lagi tayong walang emergency, lagi tayong on regular operating mode na a product can be developed, like yung mga HPV vaccine, 7 years, 8 years na develop bago i-register, tsaka pa lang natin gagamitin. Unlike other countries, yung FDA law natin sa Pilipinas, wala siyang masyadong room for for flexibility even during times of emergency, no? So kung hindi susunod tayo dun sa batas na yun na luma, talagang matagal bago magkaroon ng bakuna dito sa Pilipinas. So what we did was we asked the president, no, to come up with an executive order. And on December 1 of 2020, yung last year na sa kasagsagan, no, ng ating pandemic, the president signed executive order number 121, which grants the authority to the Director General of the FDA to issue emergency use authorizations. So yung emergency use authorization, like I said, it's a document that will allow the use of a drug or a vaccine even though it is still under development, no? However, yung EO 121, very particular din siya. Only for COVID-19 drugs and vaccines. So actually, after dito, meron din tayong minumungkahi na batas na para kahit anong emergency dapat, meron tayong ganoong mekanismo na makagamit tayo ng emergency drugs na still under development. Now, when you say EUA, under the EO, under the executive order, and this follows WHO standards, meaning an EUA shall only be valid when all of the following circumstances are present. 3 out of 3 dapat present. Hindi pwedeng 2 lamang. Kailangan 3. Number 1, based on the totality of the evidence available to date, no? It is reasonable to believe that the vaccine may be effective to prevent COVID-19. So kailangan meron tayong efficacy data. We should know that we should have data to show that if we use this vaccine, we will be able to prevent COVID-19. Hindi pwedeng hindi tayo sigurado. Kailangan doon sa cohort na yun, kahit nasa kalagitnaan pa rin ng phase 3 trial, pero yung interim results nila, napakita naman talagang yung mga nabakunahan, hindi nagka-COVID, yung mga nasa placebo, nagkaka-COVID. No? So we need to have reasonable data to show efficacy. Second, the known and potential benefits of the drug or vaccine when used to prevent COVID-19 must outweigh the potential risks. So ibig sabihin, dapat walang major safety issue. Pag may safety issue, mabigat masyado yung potential risk ng drug. Of course, most vaccines naman, kung may safety issue yan na problema talaga, hindi na yan aabot sa phase 3 trial. Phase 1 at phase 2 pa lang yan, stop na yan. No? Hindi na itutuloy yan ang development niyan. So knowing that it passed through the phase 2 trial and went into phase 3, alam naman natin yung safety niyan, maganda na. But of course, the ongoing phase 3 trials would show the safety profile of the product more. Pero ang importante dito, clear din sa atin na talagang meron tayong known, pero meron tayong unknown or potential risks. Kasi nga, as of now, most of the vaccines, for example, na ginagamit natin, yung clinical trial niya na phase 3, siguro mga 6 months old pa lamang. Ibig sabihin, alam natin yung mga possible na side effects na makikita immediately after vaccination or up to maybe 6-7 months after. Pero yung 1 year, 2 years, medyo hindi pa natin yan. May posible bang mga lalabas dyan na mga rare and unusual. No? Kaya lang, syempre, scientifically speaking, alam naman natin na karamihan makikita natin during the first few months. So, kailangan, meron kang known, meron ka rin potential risks na kailangan bantayan. And then the third requirement is that there must be no available, approved, or adequately studied alternative vaccine. Ibig sabihin, kapag may isa sa mga bakuna na yan, nakapagpa-register na siya. Talagang natapos niya lahat ng phase 3 trials, tapos kumuha na siya ng CPR at na-grant na, then lahat ng mga bakuna na naka-under EUA, unti-unti ma-phase out na yan. Yan, magamit lang tayo kasi wala pa ngayong alternative na vaccine na talagang completely developed, fully registered. Now, who can apply for an EUA? Usually, syempre, ang nag-a-apply niyan, yung kumpanya na mga magdi-distribute, mga magi-import sa Pilipinas at saka magdi-distribute dito sa atin. Pero pwede rin namang bumili ang gobyerno, no? So the government can also apply for it. For example, may bakuna dinevelop sa isang bansa, tapos wala naman siyang importer or local representative sa Pilipinas, pero gustong bilhin ng Pilipinas, pwede rin mag-apply ang DOH. So pwedeng it's the industry or the government. But we have to have assurance of quality. So importante sa atin yung good manufacturing practices. Kailangan may certification sila, na-inspect sila ng isang body na mapagkakatiwalaan natin to make sure na yung consistency ng product nila, yung purity at quality ng product pare-pareho for every batch. Kung walang nag-inspect sa kanila na ibang accredited natin na inspector, tayo, nagpapadala tayo ng team para mag-inspect ng kanilang manufacturing site. And third, the manufacturer must promise that they will complete the development of the drug. Hindi pwedeng gagamitin natin under EUA yung vaccine niya, pagkatapos sasabihin niya, ay ayoko nang ituloy, hindi ko na itutuloy yung phase 3 ko. Anyway, maganda na. Kailangan ma-complete niya yung phase 3 trials kasi nga marami pa tayong pwedeng malaman at matutunan tungkol sa vaccine na yon at kailangan madiretso niya hanggang registration. Now, in evaluating the applications, I have the power to implement what we call reliance and recognition processes. Yung reliance, ito yung tawag natin na kasi merong mga list of what we call the stringent regulatory authorities. Ito yung mga FDA counterparts ng Pilipinas sa ibang bansa, pero alam na natin na talagang napaka-istrikto ng mga yan. Kasama dyan yung US, UK, European Union, yung sa Switzerland, sa Japan, Singapore, Korea. So pag yan mga yan, meron silang in-approve na produkto. Lahat ng lahat ng documents niyan pwedeng lang i-share sa amin. Ibibigay nila including yung question and answer, lahat ng reports, lahat ng evaluation reports. And when we get that, we know that we can rely on them. Ibig sabihin may timbang talaga siya. Matimbang siya at hindi na namin kailangan ulitin lahat kaya mas mabilis. Yung recognition naman means that we can actually recognize the regulatory decisions of, for example, the WHO. Pag nag-WHO emergency use listing siya, in-approve siya ng WHO, pwede ko nang i-recognize yan instantly kahit wala nang dumaan na proseso. Pero syempre tayo naman, pinatitingnan pa rin natin yan sa mga expert natin dito sa Pilipinas. Kasi gusto natin makita rin naman na angkop din naman na pag ginamit dito sa Pilipinas yung produkto, ganun din ang magiging resulta. So we can rely and recognize the decisions and evaluations of stringent regulatory authorities. Kaya yung mga ibang mga bakuna, mas mabilis talaga namin silang ma-process. Kasi kumukuha muna sila ng EUA halimbawa sa US or sa UK. Yung iba mas matagal kasi wala pa silang EUA from a stringent regulatory authority. Now, when we evaluate, this is what we do, meron tayong group of experts, mga specialista yan dito sa atin, may mga allergologist, immunologist, infectious disease experts, epidemiologist, and then we also have a group at the FDA na specialista naman sa regulation, yung quality part nung produkto. Kasi kailangan masagurado natin na yung gamot na dadalhin dito, yun din naman yung ni-register nila sa Amerika, na yung same quality yung dadating dito sa atin. Gusto natin din makita na hindi lang same quality, na every time may darating na batch, tamang quality din yun. So we have to check all of those. So when the application comes to me, hinahati ko yung dalawa. Number one, yung sa manufacturing and quality side, I give that to the FDA regulatory officers. And then yun namang efficacy, safety, and efficacy data, mostly yung mga sa clinical trials, I give that to the panel of experts, the mga doctors na titingin naman. And then they will then make a review on the quality, the safety, and the efficacy of the product. The both panels then will submit their recommendations to me so that we can make a regulatory decision whether to approve or disapprove a product, the EUA application or a product, or pag naman in-approve natin siya, kung ano din yung conditions nung kanilang application, nung kanilang approval. May mga condition lahat yon, especially knowing that these are still products under development and are being used only during the emergency. So yung EUA valid lang yan during the duration of the declared public health emergency. Halimbawa, hanggang end of the year, meron tayong declaration of pandemic dito sa Pilipinas. Kung hindi na ma-renew yun, tapos by December, ma-lift na yung ating public health emergency, then matatanggal na rin ng visa yung mga EUA. Kailangan registered products na lang ang magagamit natin. So kailangan may mag-register na. And the good thing about the emergency use authorization, because we know that it is a product in evolution and that it is a product that is still being developed and we're getting new data regularly, meron tayong discretion dyan to revisit, revise, or even revoke the same at any given time. For example, kung naaalala nyo yung Pfizer, no, nung na-approve ito sa Amerika noong December, na ginamit na nila, nag-roll out na sila. And then after they rolled it out, a few months later, after they used it in a few million people, nakita nila na mayroong mga nag-aphylaxis. So, na-revise ngayon yung kanyang EUA na hindi siya pwedeng ibigay sa mga people who have strong history of allergies. So, ganito yon, as we get lahat ng mga lahat ng mga vaccines natin na in-approve natin for EUA, they have to report to us regularly if they have any if they have any findings that might change the product information or the indications and contraindications. At the same time, tayo minomonitor din natin lahat ng mga nababakunahan kasi at any given time kung may makita tayo ng mga signal, kung may nakita tayo ng mga safety issues, or kaya makita tayo ng kakaibang mga reactions, then we can always revise the indications for the EUA and all of the conditions. So hindi siya parang hindi siya itinaga sa bato. No? Pwede mo siyang palitan as you get to learn more things about the product that you are using. Now, since it is a product under emergency use authorization and it is still under development, ito ngayon yung isang malaking kahati nito. Since ginagamit natin siya during the emergency, kahit siya ay nasa gitna pa lamang ng phase 3 trial, kailangan very strong ang ating post-authorization monitoring or surveillance. So in fact, all of you who will be part of the delivery of the vaccines will also be very important parts of the surveillance and monitoring. Kasi kailangan makita natin, anytime na may makita tayong kakaiba, for example, ng mga adverse events, it has to be reported to FDA and to DOH so that we can see if there's more of these kind of things happening all over the country. And at the same time, kami naman yung FDA, in touch kami with the WHO, with all the other regulatory agencies, with all our counterparts in other countries. So pag may nakikita tayo dito something unusual, pwede rin namin ngayong isang guni sa ibang bansa at saka sa WHO to see kung merong pattern, and we have to investigate something. And the holder of the EUA, whoever applied for it and is granted the EUA, is required also to complete pharmacovigilance obligation. So sabay hati-hati talaga ito. Ang government na nagde-deploy, yung mga private sectors na partners, yung mga LGU, lahat yan nagbo-monitor. At the same time, yung developer ng product, yung developer mismo ng bakuna, nagbo-monitor din siya. Kasi kailangan every now and then i-check natin na talagang positive yung benefit-risk balance natin. So, nung ginrant natin siya with the data that we have at hand, sinabi natin it's reasonable to believe that the benefit outweighs the risk. No? But that is not a static balance. So, every now and then, once we get more information, we have to check. Mas maganda pa ba, mas matimbang pa ba yung benefit kaysa sa risk? Kung totoo, then we can use it and we can continue using it. Pero pag nagkaroon ng shift, at nakita natin na masyadong malaki yung risk for the benefit, then we can always get back that EUA and stop using that product. So as an update to all of you, ito yung mga nag-apply na sa atin ng EUA. No? I'm sure nababalitaan nyo rin naman narinig nyo rin sa balita ito regularly. Yung pinakauna natin binigyan ng grant ng EUA was really yung Pfizer BioNTech. No? Ito madali siyang na-process namin kasi may EUA siya sa US, UK, EU, Canada, Switzerland, all of the countries. Tapos meron siyang WHO emergency use listing. This was actually granted noong January 14 pa. Kaya lang kung nabalitaan nyo rin, nagkaroon din ng snag yung pag-procure nito because of that indemnification clause sa kontrata. Gusto nila ng Pfizer dahil nga actually hindi lang naman ng Pfizer, ng lahat ng companies. Dahil yung kanilang produkto ay still under development pa tapos hinihingi na ng mga bansa at gusto ng gamitan, gusto nila nakalagay sa kontrata na pag may nangyari that they will be indemnified. No, wala silang sasagutin. Hindi sila mananagot dahil under development pa naman yung product. So finally, napasa na rin naman ang batas nito, no? Yung indemnification, pinirmahan na rin ni Presidente ito last week. And it does not only indemnify Pfizer or the developer, it actually indemnifies everybody who's part of the vaccination program. So ito malaking bawas ng agam-agam sa ating mga health workers ito. as part of the vaccination program and delivery of the vaccine, kapag may nangyari sa isang tao at nagkaroon siya ng vaccine injury, then the government will take care of all the medical expenses, even kung sakali man, no, wag naman sana, ba, merong mamatay, meron din silang indemnification, no, na manggagaling sa gobyerno at hindi pwedeng ihabla or hindi pwedeng kasuhan ang mga health workers or everybody who's involved in the COVID-19 vaccination program. So ito, pag nag-roll out na tayo, malaking bagay ito para sa ating lahat, no? The second one na binigyan namin ng EUA was yung AstraZeneca. Meron din siyang EUA from UK, tapos nakakuha na rin siya later on from US tsaka WHO, pero nag-grant namin yan noong January 28. Yung Sputnik vaccine, ito meron siyang EUA, marami siyang EUA actually, but none of them from stringent regulatory authorities. Maganda naman yung data niya on safety and efficacy, kaya lang meron pa kaming hinihintay more on the manufacturing side. Kailangan kasi nga yung assurance natin ng good manufacturing practice. And since wala silang masubmit sa amin na certificate for that, by next week, I will have to send a team to Russia to inspect the manufacturing and see kung compliant naman sila with all of our quality requirements. No? So yan, wala pang EUA yan. Yung third na nabigyan namin ng EUA was yung Sinovac. Sinovac is an inactivated virus vaccine from China. Yung kanyang, ito yung ang sabi namin, kung ikaw ay health worker na constantly exposed to COVID-19, yung nakita sa studies nila, 50% lamang yung efficacy. But aside from that, kung hindi ka naman kasama doon sa grupo yun, you're between 18 to 59-year-old and then not constantly exposed naman to COVID-19, like most of us are. Like me, no, ako, ophthalmologist ako, hindi naman ako constantly exposed sa COVID-19 patients, then the efficacy goes to about 63 to 91%. So maganda naman. And we granted this in February 22, tas ito yung nasa start na. So ginagamit natin sa Pilipinas ngayon na vaccines ay yung Sinovac. Initially donation ito from China, but I think the government's also procuring. And then yung AstraZeneca na nakuha din natin from WHO COVAX facility, but we're also procuring that. Alam ko meron na rin mga orders tayo ng Pfizer, pero siguro padating na rin yan soon. And then later on, towards the end of the year, may iba pang mga vaccines na darating. No? We have an application from Bharat Biotech, yung Covaxin from India. And kahapon lang nila, kaninang umaga lang nila sinabit yung interim phase 3 trial data nila. No? So I will send this to the experts for evaluation pa lang tomorrow. And that will probably take maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Hopefully, makakasupply na rin sila sa atin soon. We're also expecting applications ng EUA from itong sa Moderna, sa J&J, tsaka yung Novavax. Kaya lang mukhang itong tatlong bakuna kasi na ito, like yung Moderna, hindi pa naman sila ready na mag-supply sa atin. Mukhang mga July pa yata, June or July pa sila mag-supply sa atin, kaya hindi pa nag-a-apply. Yun namang, yung Moderna, mabilis lang yon pag in-issue natin yun kasi marami na siyang EUA from stringent regulatory authorities. No? Yung dalawang binanggit ko rin, yung si J&J tsaka yung Novavax, I think yung strategy nila is kumuha muna ng EUA from the UK and the US para pag nag-apply sila sa ibang countries, mas mabilis na. And I believe they might be willing also and ready to serve us our orders baka by June or July. Talagang nag-aagawan kasi ang buong mundo ngayon sa supplies kaya hirap na hirap din tayong mag-secure. No? So as of now, ang talagang pwede natin gamitin would be Sinovac, AstraZeneca, and Pfizer once they're able to serve our orders. So as an example, ito yung mga usually some of the generic conditions that we put in an EUA. Number one, it is clear that the EUA is not a marketing authorization. It is not a certificate product registration. Therefore, the EUA cannot be used to market the vaccine commercially. Hindi pwedeng ibenta. Alam ko, ang dami-dami sa mga kumpanya, pati sa mga villages natin. So we have to keep reminding these companies, hindi nyo pwedeng ibenta yung bakuna na yan. If you're going to buy it and then give it to your employees, you have to give it for free. pero hindi pwedeng tapos ibebentahan mo naman yung anak niya o yung kamag-anak niya, no? Kasi ang gobyerno, bibili naman ang gobyerno natin ng enough vaccine for everybody na walang kailangang bilhin, na walang kailangang bayaran tayo, no? Ay yung iba lang nag-aagawan sila, nag-uunahan, nakiki-order sila, no? But if they cannot be sold, these products are not are not commercially licensed yet. So actually, very clear sa EUA yan that the company can only supply the vaccines to emergency response stakeholders, no? Including the DOH and the National Task Force. So pwede lang magbenta ang mga kumpanya na ito sa DOH. Tapos the DOH can designate authorized partners. For example, LGUs, some private companies like companies maybe that you also work with, the national government, other national government agencies, private hospitals. So pwede. Pero makakabili lang sila if the DOH, they partner with DOH at meron silang what they call that tripartite agreement. Parang yung kanilang kontrata ay between the LGU or a private hospital, for example, and then DOH and then the company. Tapos kailangan susunod din yung yung entity na yun na nakikibili, nakikitripartite agreement, susunod din yan sa vaccination program ng gobyerno. Excuse me. Now, cold chain management is very important. No? Talagang primary responsibility yan ng manufacturer unless of course sa kontrata nyo ng gobyerno, gobyerno ang mananagot nito. No? There should be a system of monitoring to ensure traceability of the vaccine and to make sure na hindi talaga nabilad yung mga bakuna. No? May mga may mga markers siya, indicators to make sure that the whole chain na observe yung proper temperature. Pharmacovigilance is important, and of course this is shared by the company and the government, and there must be a risk management plan. So hindi namin yan i-approve hanggang hindi kompleto yung risk management plan nila sa transportation pa lang. Paano kung nawala ng kuryente, anong gagawin? Nakalagay yun. Paano kung nakita mo yung bote ay basag, anong gagawin? No? So merong complete risk management plan yan na kailangan sinishare sa Department of Health. Now, important ito, most of us are going to be vaccination providers. So first of all, even if we are partnering, if our company, for example, or our LGU is partnering with the Department of Health, we must still administer the COVID-19 vaccine in accordance with the EUA. And we should follow the training required by the Department of Health in the vaccination program. So kailangan pare-pareho tayo, pare-pareho ang ating gawain, pare-pareho mga proseso natin lahat, including yung reporting, no? We have to provide fact sheets to the recipients. Ngayon maganda naman, karamihan ng vaccine electronic na, no? So may QR code siya, lalagay nyo lang yung cellphone nyo, tapos lalabas na yung vaccine information. Pwede mo na siyang basahin. This is important because you have to obtain a written informed consent prior to vaccination. So walang mandatory vaccination. It will all be given only after you have a written consent, no, sa lahat. And most importantly, of course, we have to report any adverse events following immunization on the use of the COVID-19 vaccine. So kapag bago tayo umalis doon sa vaccine station, bibigyan tayo ng telephone number or contact or QR code kung saan magre-report ng any adverse events that we're feeling so that we get to see the totality, the big picture of what's happening all over the country, and to see if there's anything unusual that's happening, or kung may clustering, for example, ng mga adverse events, or if there are any serious adverse events that we should be watching out for. And the EUA is valid only during the duration of the declared public health emergency. So, pag wala ng public health emergency, wala ng EUA, pag meron na rin product na meron certificate of product registration, mawawala na rin ng EUA. But ang fearless forecast ko is definitely for the whole 2021, we'll probably be using vaccines under emergency use authority, will probably be getting the final phase 3 trial reports at the earliest would be siguro kung hindi end of the year, early next year. And that's when the vaccines might start registering their products. So posible na by 2022, baka meron ng commercially available na vaccines for COVID-19 at the earliest. Pero until then, we will be using products under EUA. So I hope I gave you some useful information and thank you for your attention.
Okay. Yusek, ito na po ang aming mga tanong namin. I hope we will, okay lang po itong mga itatanong namin. We'll start with this question po. Para ano lang po. Is it possible po, Yusek Domingo, na magpa-inject po ako ng 2 klase ng bakuna? Sabihin, sa kabila po yung Sinovac, tapos yung kabila naman po AstraZeneca para protektado ako. May ganun po ba?
We don't recommend it at this time kasi walang pag-aaral, no, na makita yung effect. Especially yung vaccines natin ngayon, iba-iba yung platform at saka iba-iba yung technology, no? Like yung Pfizer, mRNA, inactivated virus naman yung Sinovac, tapos yung AstraZeneca may adenoviral vector. So hindi pa natin alam yung interaction niya. All of the studies that have been done, laging same vaccine na 2 doses. So at this time, yun lang muna yung ating ina-advise. At saka kulang na kulang din kasi yung bakuna. Pag kumuha ka naman ng bakuna for 2 people, ibig sabihin merong hindi mabibigyan, no? We are really targeting to buy for the government, no, 70% of the whole population, meaning most adults will get it, pero hindi pwedeng doble-doble.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, no, Doctor. Now, Yusek, when can companies start vaccinating their essential workers? Yung mga, siguro itong tanong na ito ay yung mga private sectors na, for example, the one I can think of is those who are working in BPOs, kamakailan lang may namatay na company doctor. So, ito mga private companies ito when can they start having it?
Ito yung yung mga bumili, through the tripartite agreement. Kasi yung government, ang talagang uunahin niya, health workers, meaning us, no? Actually, karamihan sa inyo sa mga LGU, pwede na kayong magpabakuna. Ha? Ang mga city hall natin, nagbabakuna na ng health workers, even those in the private sector. Pagkatapos, yung senior citizens, ang uunahin ng government. So, pangatlo pa lang yung mga frontline workers, yung mga workers, economic frontliners tinatawag. But mapapabilis yun kasi some companies have already entered into tripartite agreements with the government, meaning they donate part to government and then part naman they keep for the use of their employees. Ang tingin namin siguro towards siguro baka middle or end of the second quarter of the year. Karamihan kasi yan ang in-order nila AstraZeneca at mukhang makakapag-deliver yan siguro by mga May or June. So baka at that time makaka-start na rin siguro for economic frontliners.
All right. Thank you so much. Economic frontliners, yung pala po ang tawag, no? Now, i-clarify ko lang po, no, Yusek, you're saying that there's a tripartite wherein si DOH is collaborated with the LGU or private hospitals so that the company will have to collaborate with them. Tama po ba yung intindi ko? So, DOH, LGU or the private hospital, the hospital, tapos the company, para sa ganun makapag-vaccinate itong mga private company. Tama po ba?
Yes, oo. Minsan yung private company mismo yung kapartner ng DOH at saka ng manufacturer. So diretso sa private company. And then they can provide through their colleagues can help provide the vaccinations.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Now, would you comment on the differing percent efficacy of the virus vaccines? Because there is one reason na yung iba ayaw munang magpabakuna ng ganitong bakuna kasi antayin muna daw niya yung effect. And then, is it hard for most to believe what we hear that what is available is the best vaccine? Ibig sabihin nun, as they wait out, nag-aantay rin kasi sila what is the best recommendation. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, for people in the community, tsaka yung economic frontliners, tsaka workers na hindi naman hindi naman exposed sa COVID-19, most of the vaccines would have very similar efficacy, anywhere from 70% to 90%, no, nang magkakaroon ka ng COVID. Pero lahat sila halos ang protection nila against severe COVID and death is 90 to 100%. So maganda naman talaga lahat ng bakuna. Meron lang mga bakuna, for example, like yung Sinovac, nung nilabas ko yung EUA, hindi ko siya nire-recommend for doctors and nurses na talagang treating COVID-19 patients. Kasi doon sa group na yon, medyo mababa yung efficacy niya, 50%. Pero sa mga ibang groups naman, na hindi naman ganun ka-high risk, maganda naman. So for most of us who are not highly exposed, and then yung mga patients natin sa industry, lahat naman would be very good, especially in terms of severe disease at saka death. No? Talagang nape-prevent talaga siya. Yung efficacy niya for mild disease would range from 70 to 90%. So pipili din tayo. Meron din kasi isang kailangan isipin, kaya a lot of your companies, for example, would be buying AstraZeneca kahit nasabihin na 70% yung kanyang minimum efficacy compared, for example, sa Pfizer na 94%. Kaya lang kasi yung Pfizer, ang storage niya -70 to -80 degrees. Wala namang mga kumpanya na merong ganong freezer na ultra cold freezer na medical grade. So yun din ang mga iniisip din ng mga bumibili, yung the ease of transporting it and then of using it. Kaya some vaccines would be more attractive na bilhin at saka gamitin kasi mas madaling gamitin. Pero in the end, all the vaccines are very useful. Hindi naman mag-a-approve ang WHO or tayo sa FDA natin na hindi naman nagmi-meet ng minimum standards of protection.
Okay. Now in terms of approving vaccine, nandun na tayo, no? You said, sino po ba dapat ang nag-i-initiate ng vaccination for private companies? The LGU or the employees is living of where the company is located. Sino po ba dapat ang nag-order niya, nagpapasimuno na kailangan mag-order na tayo? Sino po ba? Company doctor po ba? Presidente ng kumpanya? Ganun po.
Well, actually, dapat gobyerno talaga. Ang gobyerno naman talaga bibili ng enough vaccines for everyone. Kaya lang, hindi talaga sabay-sabay darating. Kaya unahin mo na yung matanda bago yung mga trabahador. So actually, if the company decides not to embark on a vaccination program, pwede. Kasi by the end of the year, lahat naman ng empleyado niya mababakunahan na doon sa LGU na kung saan siya nakatira. However, may mga companies na nagmamadali na gusto na nila talagang mas bumalik agad yung kanilang mga trabahador. Kaya bumibili na sila ng bakuna para magkaroon sila, para hindi na nila mahintayin yung LGU vaccination ng kanilang employees. So kaya nagkakaroon ng ganoon na may mga companies na talagang meron silang initiative na bibili sila para bakunahan agad yung employees nila. But it's not necessary because everybody will be vaccinated sa LGU.
Okay. Now, in terms of i-clarify ko lang, balik lang ako uli sa tripartite. Lahat po ba nung EUA na vaccine na nandito, meron po yung kasunduan? Kasi I heard AstraZeneca lang daw ang may tripartite agreement.
Well, so far parang AstraZeneca pa lang ang pumapayag. Pfizer, for example, does not want to sell to anybody other than government. No? Kasi very sensitive din siguro yung product nila. No? Of course, as new products come in, like I don't know yung Sinovac, I think Sinovac parang meron na ring tripartite agreement kasi I've heard like for example, they're working with the Philippine Chinese Chamber of Commerce. So baka meron na rin. Plus yung mga ibang vaccines na darating. Pwede pa rin siguro. Pero as of now nga karamihan is AstraZeneca. Hindi, yun lang naman na talagang basta as of now, I think what I say is yung AstraZeneca pa rin talaga yung number one.
Sa tripartite po.
Oo, sila yung pumapayag kasi. Yung ibang companies hindi pa sila pumapayag na mag-sell other than to government.
Alright. Now, when it comes to selling, how about these companies po, doctor, na meron pong mga dependents? Pwede po ba kaming bumili for them? Let's say me and for my dad, ganyan po. Or kami lang po na worker?
Oo. Bawal kasi talagang ibenta. No? If the company wants to buy for their workers, dapat ibigay niya yun ng libre sa worker niya. No? Yung family members naman kasi will be taken care of sa local government unit. Mababakunahan naman sila.
Okay, thank you. So, i-buffer ko ulit ng mas lower. So, after vaccination, how many days or weeks or months to check if I already have antibodies? Lalo na kung na kumpleto na daw ang bakuna niya. I believe 2 beses yun, di po ba, doctor, na mai-injectionan siya, if Sinovac or even AstraZeneca. So, how would know, paano po siya malalaman na may antibodies na po siya?
So yung after the first dose talagang mababa pa, no, yung antibodies. So the protection is really quite low. and wala pang masyadong protection yan. After the second dose, usually after the 14th day to the after the second to third week, tsaka pa lang nag-uumpisang tumaas. So doon na pwedeng magpa-check ng antibody titers.
I see. Okay, few questions na lang po, Yusek, at ano namin ang oras ninyo. Ito po, kung sakali po magkaroon ng adverse reactions, Yusek, saan kami pwede mag-report? Anong step-by-step nito?
So when you pag na-vaccinate, bibigyan ka talaga ng ng step-by-step instruction, who to call and where to go. So that's part of our protocol, no? Kailangan kang mag-report. You can also directly report, for example, to the FDA through our website. Pero usually dun sa vaccination site, bibigyan talaga kayo ng clear yun. Before you leave, they will give you the instructions on what to do if you feel something, and then who to contact, where to go, and the schedule of your next dose.
Alright. Ito po, quick question po. Paano po kung halimbawa, napabukanahan na po ako ng isang injection, kaso matindi po yung safety risk? Paano po ba yan? Pwede bang gumamit na lang ng ibang brand? Let's say I had Sinovac, but it has reaction.
Baka dyan talaga yan. Yan siguro yung exception. For example, nag-anaphylaxis ka na syempre doon sa first dose, hindi na ibibigay sa iyo yung second dose. No? So marami tayong magiging considerations dyan, like ibang vaccine ang ibibigay sa iyo na 2 doses din, or baka hintayin din natin possibly yung sa Johnson & Johnson, yung Janssen, which is a single dose vaccine. Feeling ko yun ang ibibigay natin doon sa mga nagkaroon ng allergy. But definitely, if you get a severe allergy on the first dose, you will not be given the second dose at hahanapan ka ng iba.
Alright. Ito po, isa sa mga last few question. How about the senior citizens po? Do they need to secure medical certificates bago sila magpabakuna because of comorbidities and everything?
Hindi naman, not a medical certificate, but everybody will be screened before the vaccination. So 3-step siya, registration, and then there's a history taking and screening for all comorbids and allergies. And then pagkatapos doon yung physical naman, check man lang yung BP niya. So kung may problem, hindi naman matutuloy yung vaccination.
Alright. So lastly, kailan po kaya namin i-expect ang ating mass vaccination po? I mean, for everyone po. Kasi ngayon, I understand, there are only few selected na binabakunahan right now, yung ating mga frontliners and healthcare, and then the, yung mga leaders natin. So, paano naman po ang masa?
Sa ngayon, health workers pa lang actually, no? Yung mga ibang mga leaders, lang yun, parang for lang yun, pang come on lang yun sa mga tao. Okay. Pero technically, we're only doing health workers. Kaya dapat kayo magpabakuna na kayo, no? Alamin nyo kung sa hospital affiliation nyo or sa LGU nyo, no? I know Manila and Quezon City, for example, are vaccinating even private practitioners. Kayo pala, Quezon City kayo, no? Nakita ko yung ni Mayor Joy.
Yeah, may deadline po ba yan, no?
Oo, magpabakuna na kayo, no? Kasi ang goal natin is that by March, matapos tayo ng mga health workers. And then by April and May, yung mga April, yung mga senior citizen naman, towards May. So yung mga pasyente natin sa occupational health, yung ating mga economic frontliners, siguro by June magsa-start naman, June and July.
Oh, June, ang ating economic health frontliners. Okay. Sige po, pag sa ganun po. But now, may deadline po ba, Doc, namin kailangan habulin as a health worker?
Well, kung ako kayo, bilisan nyo na while supply lasts. Kasi ang vaccines natin ngayon, ang definitely nandito, I think we have maybe 1 million or 1.5 million doses, no? 1 to 1.5 billion. Medyo marami rin tayong health workers, ha? Mahigit 1 million tayo. Kaya siguro for now, yan, baka 750,000 sa atin pwede nang bakunahan ngayon. Kaya so pag available na sa inyo, sa LGU or sa hospital affiliation nyo, mag-sign up na kayo. Mabilis lang naman kahit pumila kayo ng 2 oras. Natatapos naman Kanina pumunta ako sa isang hospital sa Santa Ana. Nakita ko naman they were able to do like 300 health workers in one day. No? And believe me, it gives you a sense of of security. May konting sense of relief ka kahit first dose pa lang. Kasi we all know that hindi naman, kahit na hindi siya 100% against mild COVID, pero ang taas talaga ng protection against severe COVID and death. Malaking bagay pa rin.
That is so nice to hear, Doctor. Now, ano po, no? Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Yusek Domingo, for giving us your time again and answering all our questions. Now, saan po kayo pwedeng ma-reach out? Kasi meron pa silang maraming katanungan with regards to our vaccination right now, no? Sa COVID-19. Ano
you can
po bang
collect
email
them.
nyo or ano po?
Oo. You can collect the questions and then you can send it to my office, to me, at odg@fda.gov.ph.
Okay.
So we can give you answers para sa next meeting nyo, you can share it with everybody.
Thank you po. Ano ko lang po, no, lahat ng doktor sana, no, kailangan mapabakunahan. Ano po, Yusek?
Oo, kaya tayo inuuna ng gobyerno kasi pag tayong nagkasakit, wala nang mag-aalaga sa kanilang lahat. Kaya may dahilan kung bakit tayo priority, and we should take advantage of it. It's our responsibility.
Thank you. Lahat ng healthcare worker are very important people right now in the midst of our pandemic. Thank you so much once again, Yusek Domingo. Doctor, we are so grateful for your time. We will see you again. Sana mapaunlakan niyo po kami muli sa ating mga future mga webinar. Thank you po at magandang gabi po. So again, thank you QCC Virtual Kapihang Team. Excellent job to everyone. Pinapangunahan po ng aming Technical Head, our very own PCOM QC Chapter Secretary Dr. Jose Angelo Taylor. Maraming salamat sa mga nag-participate sa gabing ito. Sana marami tayong natutunan. Mangyari ay meron kasi tayong mga batian mamaya, no? To our honorable guests, may we have tawag dito. Thank you so much for the opportunity once again to know more about this COVID-19 vaccine. To formally end tonight's educational activity, ladies and gentlemen, our Chapter Vice President, Dr. Jeremiah Martin Florante.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Aku. Okay. In behalf of the Quezon City Chapter ng Philippine College of Occupational Medicine, nais ko pong pasalamatan si Director General Rolando Enrique Domingo ng Food and Drug Administration Philippines sa pagpapaunlak sa aming imbitasyon upang talakayin ang napapanahong usapin tungkol sa bakuna kontra sa sakit na COVID-19. Ang tanging hiling ko lang po sa lahat na dumalo sa makabuluhan na talakayang ito ay i-share ang natutunan sa mga kasamahan sa trabaho. Maraming salamat din po sa National Board na narito ngayon. Ang ating mga past national presidents, ibang kasapi ng college mula sa iba't ibang chapters, at mga kasama namin sa members ng Quezon City Chapter. Maraming salamat po sa suporta. Siyempre, hindi ko rin makakalimutan ng mga partners, ng ating mga tripartite partners sa advokasya sa kaligtasan at kalusugan sa paggawa. Salamat po at huwag sana po kayong magsawa sa pagsuporta sa lahat ng aming activities. Sa webinar team, congratulations and thank you very much. Ngayong gabi po ay premiere night sa YouTube channel ng aming 25th Kapihang OH na pinamagatang COVID-19 Strikes Back, the Rise of the UK Variant. Maya't maya rin po ay nagpapalabas din kami ng OH in a Flash. Ito po yung mga tidbits ng information from our previous Kapihans. Kaya wag pong kalimutan mag-like, share, subscribe, and click sa notification bell button sa YouTube channel ng PCOM QCC Chapter para maging updated sa OH. I-like at i-follow rin ang aming ibang social media accounts sa Facebook, Twitter at Instagram. Kung kayo po ay may concerns o di kaya ay nais ng grupo ninyo ng isang collaboration with us, huwag pong magatubiling mag-email sa pcomquezoncitychapter@gmail.com. Promote ko na rin po yung 42nd Annual National Convention ng PCOM ngayong March 17 to 21, 2021. via virtual platform. For more information, please email the National Secretariat at pcomsecretariat@gmail.com. Muli maraming salamat po. Parati po nating tandaan na sa Quezon City chapter ng PCOM, ang kaligtasan at kalusugan ninyo ay mahalaga. Good evening.
Maraming salamat, ating VP ng Quezon City chapter, Dr. Jane Ferrante. Muli maraming salamat po sa inyong pagdalo sa susunod na 27 Kapihang OH. Ako po si Dr. Margo Venus Dasalyaku na parating nagpapaalala na sa Quezon City chapter ang inyong kaligtasan at kalusugan ay mahalaga. PCOM QCC cares. Good night everyone and stay safe and happy.